Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Polymega. This review of the beta system was originally written and adapted for video by Damien McFerrin and narrated by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Originally announced back in 2017 as the Retro Blocks, Polymega has endured a rather turbulent journey to market. Whilst the system's objective has always been the same, specifically to offer players the chance to access software for a wide range of cartridge and CD-based retro consoles all in one place, we've seen lots of changes over the past few years. FPGA support was dropped early on, which is something that caused quite a bit of upset amongst potential buyers. Then the system missed its proposed early 2019 release window, and it just kept going. Pre-orders opened, but the launch was pushed back again, and now in August 2020, the machine still isn't in the hands of those who laid down their money all those months ago. It now has a revised release window of November, although it's also bringing cloud gaming along as a bonus. Having said all of this, creating and launching a piece of gaming hardware isn't an easy process for a big company, let alone a relatively new one like California-based Polymega, or Polymega, I don't know. The team behind Polymega, let's leave it at that. And despite all the setbacks and delays, this team has persevered. The system may not be totally finished just yet, but it's on the home straight, with 2 waves of beta systems now in the hands of testers all over the globe. We were lucky enough to be included in the second beta test group, and the impressions that I'm about to read out are based on that pre-release variant of the Polymega rather than the proper final thing. Not to be beating a dead horse, but we really want to make this clear. The system that we have in our hands now is not the final production model, nor is the firmware. The purpose of this beta test is to iron out any issues or problems before the machine goes to retail, and there are still plenty of things that do need addressing. On a physical level, there's a gap above the micro SD card slot which is just big enough for you to accidentally insert the card into the body of the console itself, which is a problem. However, the team has already confirmed that it will be remedied on the final model. Likewise, the fan at the back of the unit is just close enough to the micro SD card slot that it's not inconceivable that somebody could accidentally pop a card in there as well. Again, this is something that will be solved before release. On the software side of things, fixes are somewhat easier to execute. Because the Polymega is connected to the internet via Wi-Fi, the system can be updated in the same way as a Switch or a PlayStation can. In fact, we've already had 2 updates in the time we've had the console. These updates not only introduce new features and improve compatibility with games, they also fix any bugs or issues present in the firmware. This beta testing phase is more than vital, as Polymega is expected to play literally thousands of games across multiple formats, and as has already been evidenced during our time with the system, there are often multiple variants of a single game based on production runs, and these all need to be catalogued in the Polymega's database before they can be installed to the console. No small feat. Speaking of which, it's perhaps worth talking about how this machine actually works and how it will run your beloved retro collection. The base Polymega system comes with a CD drive and will play Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation, Sega Mega CD, Neo Geo CD, and PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 CD games from every region imaginable. Cartridge-based games such as the NES, SNES, Mega Drive 32X, and PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 will be playable using optional element modules, each of which have to be purchased separately and comes with its own custom controller based on the pads used with the original machines for the proper experience. The element modules also house the controller ports for their respective systems, so you can use original controllers if you happen to have them to hand. The Polymega comes with a 9GB pre-installed database which has cover art, text descriptions, and screenshots for thousands of supported games across all these systems. When you load a game up, it's matched with its database entry and can be either played from the original media or installed to the system's internal storage, and if you do the latter, you no longer have to have the original cartridge or disc in order to play that game in the future. M.2 SSD support is also included and comes highly recommended. We fitted a 1TB SSD to our beta console, and even with over 171 games installed, we still have more than 923GB of space remaining. Lovely. The time it takes to install a game does vary. For example, some of the discs we loaded up installed in seconds. Guardian Force from the Sega Saturn was done in under half a minute, whilst others took longer. The process is variable due to a wide range of factors, such as data size being the most obvious, but also if a disc has scratches or marks, it means that the Polymega has to take just a little bit longer to properly read that data. In a nice little touch, games actually begin the install process the very moment you load them into the drive, and then Then if you choose not to install by simply playing from the disk, that data is deleted the moment you push the eject button. Once the game is installed, it is displayed in its relevant system menu in the console's pleasantly slick UI. You can also create your own custom playlists for particular titles or genres, just to make them easier to find if you so wish. Furthermore, the console leverages its massive database by giving you recommendations based on the game you're currently playing, so should you load up, say, Burning Rangers on the Saturn, you'll be able to browse similar sorts of games, titles also published by Sega, and games released in the same year. And if you like, these can also be added to a wish list for future reference. If this sounds unnecessary or irritating in any way to you, then you'll be pleased to hear that you can disable this feature and only get recommendations based on what you currently have installed in your library, but we rather like seeing the suggestions and made more than a few trips to eBay searching for the titles that it recommended. Patches, such as fan-made translations of Japanese games, can be applied to installed software using a USB thumb drive or micro SD card, and you can even safely remove the patch at a later date if you so wish. Oh, and while we're here, we should point out that Polymega is perfectly happy playing installed copies of games made on CDR discs, although the intention is clearly for users to digitize their own collections rather than resort to downloading them from shady sites online. However, the manufacturer has been very clear on the fact that you will not be able to simply dump a bunch of ROMs onto the console via USB or micro SD. The system also won't work with flash cartridges such as the EverDrive. All compatible games benefit from creature comforts such as save states and screen filters as well. The latter option offers two delicious flavors at the present. The RGB scanline filter replicates what games would have looked like on a classic CRT television, whilst the composite option simulates that particular AV connection, even though I hate it. Both are suitably authentic, but we did find ourselves yearning for that incredible sharpness that you get with the open source scanline converter's scanline option. Polymega has confirmed that it is considering offering more filter options in the future, so keep an eye out. Should you choose to play without any kind of screen filter though, you're gonna get an incredibly crisp image, just like you'd expect to see if you were using some sort of PC-based emulator. The Polymega's UI also allows you to take screenshots during games, as well as tinker with settings such as screen aspect ratio, rapid fire settings, and analog controls. Whilst we weren't able to test any of the element modules at this stage, we'll be giving our impressions on those when they arrive. The base unit does still offer some card-based fun, thanks to the fact that it comes preloaded with a bunch of NES, SNES, Mega Drive, and PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 titles. I'm never going to get bored of saying that. This is mostly thanks to licensing deals and includes games such as Iron Commando, Top Racer / Top Gear, Sword of Sodan, Target Renegade, and Moto Roader 2. We can't really say we consider any of these bundled games AAA releases, but they do hint at another exciting part of the Polymega future: the proposed digital store, which allows publishers and developers to monetize their back catalogs in very much the same way the Virtual Console did on the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS. The base unit comes with its own wireless Polymega controller, which is shaped very much like a PlayStation DualShock pad. It's fairly light and comfortable to use, and more importantly, the D-pad is quite a bit better than you might expect. Latency is an issue when playing wirelessly, but you can plug it into the machine using a micro USB lead if you want to reduce this. Although we weren't able to test this ourselves, but latency with a wired pad is reported to be about 2 to 3 frames, which puts it in the same ballpark as the SNES Classic Edition. Alternatively, Polymega supports a wide range of wired and 2.4 GHz pads, including Retrobit's excellent Sega licensed controllers, and even the pad which came with the PlayStation Classic. These are all immediately detected by the system and button mapped accordingly before you even do a thing. Pleasingly, even the on-screen prompts in the UI change according to which controller you're using, which is that's just a really nice touch. Whilst latency didn't really feel like an issue to us with USB pads, we've been informed by Polymega that the element modules will reduce lag even further, potentially down to a single frame as they claim, when using the built-in controller ports on each one. But now, the important part: how does the Polymega handle emulation, given that it's not using FPGA technology that is generally favored by hardcore retro enthusiasts? Well, very well actually. Whilst there are still some incompatibility problems to be solved with the ongoing beta test phase, accuracy is impressive. Furthermore, after installing 170 games to the M.2 SSD that we fitted in the Polymega, we found only 3 titles that showed as unsupported, and this is very likely due to the degradation of the original media, as other beta testers had been able to install the same games without any issue. A small number of other titles run fine from the disk but aren't recognized by the internal database database, and therefore cannot be installed. Again, this is likely something that is easily rectified as the beta phase continues and more titles are added to the console's database. Likewise, issues such as games displaying visual quirks refusing to load past a certain point, and other emulation kinks are being ironed out as we speak. Sega Saturn emulation, which has long been really quite spotty, even on powerful PCs, is surprisingly solid. We tested a wide range of games and they look, sound and feel the same as they do on original hardware. Even ambitious titles like Virtua Fighter 2, which use the console's high-resolution mode, run brilliantly. And it's worth noting that at this stage, even the acclaimed open-source Mr. FPGA system doesn't run Saturn titles. Load times sadly don't seem to be any different on Polymega, although there is the exception of Neo Geo CD games, which seem to boot practically instantly, which is wonderful. All in all, the standard of emulation here is remarkable, and whilst it's still software-based and therefore will never be a one-to-one replication, it's close enough to be of little consequence to the average user, and as time goes on, it's only going to improve. Even at this stage, with its little niggles and minor gaming compatibilities, the Polymega is a mouth-watering prospect for retro gamers. Whilst the cost is indeed high, and launching alongside the PS5 and Xbox Series X certainly isn't going to help matters, the base unit of the Polymega offers incredible value. Purchasing all the systems it supports individually would easily total more than the asking price. Factor in the element modules and the cost does increase, but even so, being able to expand the system is a real boon, and there's no reason why in the future we couldn't see support increase thanks to the modular nature of the hardware. The delays and lack of FPGA have done much to harm Polymega's standing with a core group of hardcore enthusiasts, and convincing those same individuals to give the machine a chance is perhaps going to be PlayMage's biggest challenge. However, from what we've seen in the week we've spent with the machine, it looks set to become a highly desirable piece of hardware for fans of retro gaming everywhere.